right, welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman, heading into the third weekend of January and a big weekend for Rutgers wrestling, and no person better to have to discuss the upcoming weekend and the past results is our Erik Vesper. Erik, thanks so much for being back.
Hey, Aaron, thanks for having me again. Happy to be here.
And obviously, Rutgers starting off Big Ten dual meet season in great fashion with a 30-11 victory at the RAC last weekend on Friday, and then a road win at Purdue 26-13. A lot of great individual performances over last weekend. What were some of kind of the key takeaways for you in terms of how Rutgers performed?
Yeah, you said it great. What a way to start the Big Ten schedule, right? The daunting Big Ten schedule. Whoever set this up did Rutgers a favor with these first two. And we talked about it the last time. We're on our way. We said they might start 3-0 in the Big Ten. So if they take out Michigan State tomorrow, you and I are pretty smart. So, yeah, great weekend. For my notes for the Indiana match, I just have Turley, because that's kind of where the match really picked up, right? We kind of struggled a little bit in the lower weights. We do have some backups and some injuries going on. At 41, Moore was out. At 49, Butler remains out, and then at 57, Clark was also out. So 3 starters not in the lineup for that match. So you were kind of concerned how that was going to go and really was going to depend on those upper weights to pick it up. And boy, did they do it. I mean, we went 4-1 after the break. We lost at 65, but then after that was a clean sweep, the biggest one at 174. Jackson Turley wrestled number 9, DJ Washington, Donald Washington, for the 4th time in their careers. Turley is 2-1 against him going into it. The last time they met actually was last year at the Big Ten tournament. And Turley needed to beat him in the 7th place match to qualify for nationals, and he did. It was kind of out of nowhere because earlier in the season that year, Washington had majored him. So everybody didn't really realize that was going to happen. So then we get into this match, and everybody's like, all right, this should be a good one. You know, Turley kind of struggles a little bit early in the season, so let's kind of see where he's at. Well, he showed us. He took Washington out with a second period tech, 15-0. Didn't surrender a single point. It all started very quickly. Washington tried to go upper body with Turley, and I don't know where he got that idea from, because Turley showed him who has the prowess up there and immediately countered his throw, spun him with a little hip toss right to his back. All of a sudden, it's 7-0 Turley, and he never looked back from there. It was fantastic. Really good to see. And on top of that, at 125, I forgot to mention this too, Peterson had a really nice bounce back after taking an upset loss the week before against Ryder. He comes out, pins his kid at 125, really gets the ball rolling for the team overall. After 74 with Turley's win, you got Soldano picking up a major, and at that point, it was wrapped up. Rutgers drops 30 points against a ranked opponent for the first time since joining the Big Ten. So it was a great night, Friday night, and Goodell was fired up after the match. He was really happy. He thinks this is a special group. People are going to say Goodell's a very positive guy, right? He says that the look on his face, he is believing in this group. He says this group is fun, and he's excited about what they can do, and I am too. I mean, to start off like that was awesome. And then you go into Sunday. Purdue, you know, they're a little bit of a young team. They are highlighted by their 125 pounder, who's now ranked number 1 in the country. He was ranked number 2 going in. Matt Ramos. People remember him from last year in the NCAA tournament. He is the fella that knocked off the legend Spencer Lee in the semifinals, ruining Spencer's chance for a 4-time national championship career. And he ended up finishing second to Pat Glory of Princeton. So going into this match, people really wanted to see where Peterson was at. Last year, he actually got pinned, so this was a big improvement, but he still could not really get there. It's really unfair. I mean, Ramos looks like he's about 5'10". He has the perfect stance where he's bending over at the waist. His legs are so far away. Peterson never got close to scoring, and he had really good defense, though. Ramos, I don't think, connected until late second, early in the third, and that was the final score. Peterson lost 4-1. Something to build on for sure, but that gap is there for sure, too. It's pretty obvious, so he needs to do some different things. Got to find a way to get to the legs there. But beyond that, it was a good day. 26-13 victory. Always nice. You got to win the ones that you're supposed to win, right? The Big Ten is crazy. Wrestling in general is crazy, and things can happen. So you got to pull out the ones you're supposed to win. I was also impressed with Mike Setta over the weekend. He lost on Friday, but then he picked up a nice win on Sunday. And he's been filling in for Butler now for about 4 weeks, and he's been doing 3 weeks, I would say. He's been doing very well. His leg defense is pretty wild. When dudes that are much better than him shooting on his legs and they're not converting their takedowns, there's definitely something there.
Yeah, it's he has filled in pretty well, and I think the depth of this lineup, even with the injuries, I mean, for them to put up 30 on Indiana was pretty impressive. You had Poznansky look really good in that Purdue match. with that big win. So I think there's just, what's fun, I think, with this team is that any of the individual wrestlers could have big moments in any match that could propel them to victory and kind of swing momentum. And I think it's been a while, and even like in the earlier years, there was only like one or two or three guys in the lineup that you knew had that kind of special quality. And I feel like what's unique about this team is that they really could hit it big at most weight classes at any match they're in.
And you're very right. And we talked about it last time. This is Coach Goodell building this program into a national contender. As recent as, 5-6 years ago, we were getting like the kids that were second place in New Jersey state championships. New Jersey's a great wrestling state, but why weren't we getting those number one guys? Now we're getting those guys. He's getting great pieces from all over the country. Got a great recruiting class coming in from California, Pennsylvania, all over the country. And you can see now that it's no longer a spot in the lineup where you don't have a guy that can compete with the top level guys. You're 100% right. Over the years, it seemed like we had 2 or 3 dudes that were a little bit above everybody else. Now everybody's kind of getting a lot closer together. I think we have 5 guys that are close to ranked top 10 in the country. It's kind of unheard of for Rutgers. So we're really happy about that. And we're happy that Goodell just continues to build this beast of a program. It's going to get there. It takes a long time. I mean, we don't need to rehash it again about where the program was at before he got there. But you're saying it, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, 41, their backup wasn't doing too great. It was true freshman Max Hermes. He is definitely undersized for that on Friday. They brought the wily vet Devin Britton out there on Sunday to fill in, and he did okay. He took a loss, but he definitely was better suited for the weight, it seemed like. It looks like Moore is going to be coming back this week. I just saw a video of him. He's traveling with the team. He traveled to Purdue, so you could tell the injury is not super serious, hopefully. And same thing with Clark. Coach Goodell indicated that he had a shot to go last Sunday, but at the end you saw he held him out. So hopefully both those guys are back. I already saw on the probables that Butler is not there again. So I have no word on what's going on with him. I got to ask Coach next time we're there. Nobody asked for some reason. I forget why last time. But, I mean, Butler was a big piece. You see him in the videos. Looks like he's practicing. Like, he looks like he's there, but he's not in the lineup right now. But that's what makes having somebody like Seta who can, do a solid job there, keep matches close, not give up bonus points, sneak out a ranked win against Quinn Kidder of Ryder, which was awesome for him. Quinn Kidder was ranked like 22nd or 24th at the time. New Jersey, I think 2-time state champion from Kingsway, if I'm not mistaken. So really impressed with the depth, as you said. Al DeSantis filling in at 157 for Clark. He had a nice major, I believe, on Friday night as well. He was a little hesitant going out there, maybe some mat rust, but as soon as he started getting to his leg attacks, he was getting deep and finishing them. So the depth is there, and this team is just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, it's a great update, too. I was going to ask you about the injuries and what you thought about that. Rutgers put out their projected lineups for the weekend, and they do have Moore or Devin Britton. But as you said, it looks like Moore is going to be a go, and then Andrew Clark and DeSantis are both listed. But you're right. Just Michael Seta listed at 149, no Butler. But, it's a long season to go, and hopefully you can get, ready to be on the mat soon. A lot of opportunity now for Rutgers going into this weekend. Michigan State, a program they typically have success against on the road. Friday night, 6:30. It's going to be on BTM Plus. And then they're Michigan on Sunday, which is obviously a huge opportunity. Michigan ranked number 11 right now. Rutgers number 13. Rutgers has never beaten Michigan. Let's start with Michigan State. What are some of the key matchups that you're looking forward to in terms of this bout?
Yeah, it's a weird bout. Like, their ranked guys don't really match up with our ranked guys too much. We have an advantage definitely at the lower weights. In the middle weights, that's where Michigan State has its strongest guys, 49, 57, 65. So we'll see how our guys hang with that. As always, our middle weights have, it's been the lightweights and the heavyweights have kind of carried us to these victories this year. So we need the middleweights to step up specifically on Friday. But the match of the day has to be at 184. And then I'll be Brian Soldano taking on Lane Malshewski, which I think I said correctly, of Michigan State. These two had some epic matches last year, including at the NCAA tournament, where they're both wild men. Like, this is where I almost want, Soldano's been doing such a good job of really reeling it in, going to his leg attacks, beating dudes really technically rather than with some wild move. I almost kind of want to see him go back to the wild stuff against Lane, because Lane's going to bring it. The two clash upper body. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Soldano lost, I think, twice to him last year, but then in the national tournament, flipped him to his back on a wild move and pinned him to advance in the, I believe, in the consolation bracket. So it's going to be wild if they both let it fly. Paz is a pretty big favorite against his guy, and Yara the same way. So that's going to be the highlighted match of the day for me, and I think everybody else is going to want to tune in and see that too, because you can see some fireworks for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan State responds. They were undefeated up until last weekend when they lost against Michigan. But you're right. I mean, it's certainly a match on paper that Rutgers should win, and a second straight road match. So that's something as well. And then you go on to Michigan on Ann Arbor on Sunday, and they're ranked everywhere, just like Rutgers. A lot of top 5, top 10 ranked guys. I would think that the feature match, right, the most exciting just on paper is Yara versus Lucas Davison at heavyweight. Is there any way to? I don't even know this. Like when they start the matches, so the weight they start at changes sometimes. Sometimes they start at 125. Sometimes they'll start in the middle. They've even started at kind of random weights at times. Is there any way to know going into it? Like, will it be a traditional kind of top to bottom, or just in terms of where that match potentially could play out?
Yeah, that's up to the coaches. They kind of decide before the match. So when they all are at weigh-ins and things like that, and they're chatting with each other, I think that's when they decide what weight they're going to start at. Cadell's a traditionalist. He loves starting at 125. It's usually never his decision. I don't ever think it's him that's pushing to start at another weight. I think he can keep it agreeable. Somebody can convince him that. I don't know why. It's like the other day, they started at heavyweight against Purdue. Thought that was kind of strange because the feature matchup, like we talk about, was Ramos versus Peterson, and that ended up being the second match of the day. So it was kind of strange at that point. But I think it'll kind of work itself out, right? We say that the highlight match is at heavyweight. Well, they're going to start at 125 probably then and see where it goes from there. You said yourself, Aaron, Michigan, I mean, they're ranked number 11. I don't really understand how. They have 7 guys currently ranked in the top 10.
Yeah.
They have 4 transfers that came over that are starting. They have another one that got hurt. I don't think Chris Cannon's going anymore. 3 from Northwestern, 1 from Wisconsin, and 1 from Stanford. The Jersey boy, what's his name? Can't remember offhand right now. But, yeah, it should be an awesome match. Rutgers doesn't necessarily match up great. They're going to have ranked guys pretty much at every spot. Matches I'm looking forward to. We got a rematch of the Midlands Final 133 with Dylan Shaver taking on the battle of the Dylan Raguzin from Michigan, who just got pulled out of redshirt. I believe he was redshirting until recently. And they had a close match. I believe it was a 5-3 or 5-2 final in favor of Raguzin at the Midlands tournament. But Shaver is a guy who has looked absolutely amazing right now. If I could even jump back real quick to the Penn duel, Shaver had one of the best performances I've ever seen of somebody playing possum. He was down, needed 2 takedowns in the last 30 seconds of the match. He gets one, lets the kid up. He's really tight and close on the last one, and it seems like he's kind of just laying there as the clock's ticking down. The announcer comes on, he goes 4, 3, 2, and at 1, Shaver limped arm and got on top of the kid for the takedown. The kid thought, I think Shaver had given up, and it was one of the best ways I've played possum I've ever seen. So I'm excited about Shaver. He's probably the most impressive guy on the team so far to me outside of Poznansky. He's just a killer. He's going for it in the third period. His conditioning is wild. He has one of the slickest fireman's carries, and now he's getting back points off it when he hits it and stuff like that. Shaver's the guy to watch, and I'm really excited to see how he makes his adjustments going into this match with Raguzin the second time around. And then, like you said, Yara's going up against number 4, Lucas Davison. Davison is a monster. I think he's a senior as well, a graduate student. He is a very bruising style. It'll be interesting. Yara is kind of the same way. They're not going to really hit you with the leg attacks, but they're also not like the giant heavyweights that can't move on their feet and stuff like that. So this should be an interesting matchup. Really will give a good gauge of where Yara's at. He hasn't really had too many ranked matchups this year. So it'll be good to see how he adjusts, how he can handle a guy like this. I haven't seen if they wrestled before in the past. That's something I'll look into going into the match so I can see if there's some history. But with that said, Yara has a good shot against anybody. From what I've seen so far, Yara is so patient, so smart. He's so good at manipulating his opponent's bodies to do what he wants them to do. So that should be an exciting one. We also have at 149, I'm really interested to see. So Michigan wrestles Penn State Friday night. So it's going to be interesting to see if they put all their effort into that match to see if they can hang at all. I mean, Penn State's favored by 20 points. I saw in a sports book, which is just crazy. And so it'll be interesting to see what guys Michigan brings Sunday. If they bring out their whole roster, they have a lot of older guys on their roster, a lot of transfers that might not need all this mat time in the middle of the winter. So at 149, you got Austin Gomez, who is a couple-time All-American. I think he was a national runner-up. Who knows if he goes? He's just getting back into wrestling shape, it seems like. I think he only has like 2 or 3 matches. There's other guys on the team, too, that just could get a break. I mean, you don't want to necessarily win that way, but I'm trying to find paths to a Rutgers victory here, and that's kind of where I see it. Michigan State's ranked higher than them. They're a better team, but it's wrestling, and we can kind of see what happens with it. But Rutgers has a way better shot if Michigan sits a guy or two, and they have good backups, but Rutgers have a better shot that way.
Yeah, that's is the match against Penn State, is it on the road for Michigan, or is it in Ann Arbor?
No, it's in Ann Arbor. Penn State's coming up, bringing their whatever it is, 8 guys ranked in the top 5. I mean, it's just wild. And a couple true freshmen on Penn State too. Rutgers versus them on a Monday. It's the only Big Ten network match of the year. I think it's in early mid-February. And you wish they had a different match that was on the Big Ten network, right? But hey.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. They have a triple header, and I was like, oh, no Rutgers.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun Friday night if you like wrestling, though. 6, 8, and 10, 3 duels on the Big Ten network.
So going back to Davison and Yara, they actually met in nationals last year, and Davison won. Looks like it was 4-2, and they had met once before in 2021 with Yara winning the decision. So they're 1-1 all time. So that would be it.
Yeah, rubber match time. We like to see that too. And the odds are the two will see each other 2 more times, right? One more time at Big Tens if the seeds work out, and then maybe at Nationals fighting for that All-American spot. Davidson's a solid wrestler. He's done nothing but improve. Like I said, he spent his early part of his career over at Northwestern, left with the exodus of Northwestern All-Americans up to Michigan in the offseason. And that's another one now that I remember it. Michael D'Agostino at 125. He's actually ranked 5th and one, I saw, and 17th by another.
Yeah, that's weird.
They can't decide where he's at. But he had a really fun match with Peterson at home last year when he was still with Northwestern. Came down to the buzzer. Peterson was really close to getting a takedown that would have won him the match, but he wasn't rewarded it. So these two have some history as well. I like to see if Peterson can close that gap, pick up a win, and that'll improve his rank. Well, depends which ranking they go with, but it'll help Peterson get back because they were kind of mean to Peterson. He took that loss to the rider guy, Klinsky, and they dropped him from 2nd to 13th. So
I saw that.
It's 125 is wild this year. It's ruthless. It's like a rudderless ship without Spencer Lee there just to be number 1 the whole season and keep everybody else in check. I think they've had like 5 different wrestlers ranked number 1 on these sites right now. So it's any man's game. Peterson's just as good, I think, as anybody else out there. Like I said, there's some technical things he can improve against a guy like Ramos, but so could a lot of people. Man, I just couldn't get over how big that kid was for 125. It was really wild. But Michigan should be a fun match, man. I hope you're not busy Sunday afternoon. You should check it out.
Yeah, what time is the match? It's
I'm not even sure.
I gotta look it up. I'll come back.
1 p.m. 1 p.m.
And it's on BTN.
That'll be on BTN Plus.
BTN Plus. Oh, can't make the big screen.
They only have the one match the whole season. I saw the schedule come out. I'm like, geez, Louise, only one match on Big Ten.
Going back to Michigan, you mentioned the Jersey boys. So that's Shane Griffith from Stanford.
There it was.
Who Rutgers was, really hotly after to add. And he's ranked, 4th and 3rd right now. And he's going to go up against the reigning Big Ten Wrestler of the Week and Jackson Turley. So obviously a monster test for him there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Rutgers was real close to bring Griffith home, but it didn't work out. He ended up in Michigan with the rest of these guys. And yeah, couldn't be a better time for Turley to wrestle him, right? Coming off 2 awesome matches over the weekend where he picked up the tech, and then on Sunday he got a pin really quickly. I think it was about 40 seconds in the match. So he couldn't be in a better headspace right now, I would imagine, going into this. We'll see how it goes Friday, see if he can get in that mode and start getting really riled up. I know he's going to be ready to go. Again, though, this is another match where I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan I don't think these guys wrestle a ton of duels. So there's going to be some combination, I believe, of one of these guys, especially depending how it goes against Penn State, that's going to sit out. But Turley versus Griffith, on paper, Griffith is a very technical wrestler. Might be able to, he's going to know not to go upstairs with Turley, I would imagine. So Turley might have to get back to some more standard wrestling. But him and the rest of the team this season on top is another thing all in itself. They're so strong on top this year with their turns. And it's really good timing for that with them adding a 3rd back point situation there too. So it used to be 2 swipes was 2 points and 4 swipes was 4 points. Well, now if it's 3 swipes, it's 3 points as well. So you have 2, 3, or 4 you can score there. And Turley is a turning machine. He hits the bow and arrow with a nasty crossface and just puts guys into a pretzel. So it's fun to see. We'll see if he can have some time on top against Griffith. That might be where he can separate himself from him. But on their feet, Griffith's definitely going to have the advantage.
Well, and it should be a great bout, and certainly Rutgers has a lot of opportunity. I mean, looking ahead after Michigan State, Michigan, they're home the following weekend against number 16 Minnesota. Then you're home the following weekend against number 7 Ohio State. Obviously, they'll be underdogs in that match, but that's not so inconceivable in terms of them being able to win that. Obviously, you go to Penn State after that. But then you have Maryland at home. So, I mean, they have a real shot to have their best Big Ten dual meet record in, quite a while.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly there. I mean, the Ohio State match on paper isn't as wild as it's been in the past. We match up pretty well with them. They have some young guys. Oh, excuse me, a little indigestion there. So we'll see what happens with that one. I really like their chances against Minnesota, too, especially now since Gable Stevenson's not coming back to college this year. He was back and forth, but he's going to stay with Vince McMahon on the WWE, it appears. So no Gable, unfortunately, for the RU fans that wanted to see the Olympic champion come to town. Great for Yara, because he'll probably be able to pick up a big win now, because I don't think anybody in college wrestling would beat Gable Stevenson anymore. That kid he's a beast. But yeah, like you said, great chance to have a strong showing in the Big Ten. I believe there's 8 Big Ten duels. We could conceivably easily go 5-3, I think. You figure with Penn State, maybe Michigan, and if you give Ohio State, that's the 3 losses. We should be able to take out Michigan State and Maryland, though, in my opinion, and sneak another one in there somewhere. So we can get it. 5-3 would be huge for us in the Big Ten. It'd probably put us in the top half of the Big Ten for the first time in a while. We've been hovering around 8th, 9th, 10th for a couple of years now. And this is all part of the plan. We're top heavy, like I said last time. We have guys that can make a run. So this season is just going to get more and more exciting, in my opinion, especially if Goodell can keep these guys healthy and hungry and keep going at it, because this is a different team than I've seen in the past. They're all highly motivated. They're all very confident in their abilities. And it's going to be a fun watch.
Erik Vesper, always appreciate your insight on Rutgers wrestling, and certainly an exciting weekend ahead. And we'll have you back very soon, maybe even next week, depending on how this weekend goes. And hopefully, we could talk about some history being made with the first ever win in Ann Arbor. Thanks so much for being back.
Thanks so much for having me, Aaron, and let's go RU.
All right, and thanks for everyone for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful.